everybody. I'm Jim Setzer. This is Images by Design, another one of our photographers' workshops. This week I've invited some friends in the studio and we're going to talk about winter photography. We've got some people that have been shooting since the Ice Age, and we've got some folks that have been shooting for a couple of years, and so we've got a lot of great wealth in this room, and I'm really hoping everybody will contribute lots to the conversation. So I've thrown up a quick little PowerPoint with just my thoughts because I will ramble on forever and we'll get into 1,000 rabbit holes. So this PowerPoint here is just to kind of keep us on some sort of track. I've thrown down my thoughts and ideas, but of course they're not all encompassing. If you see something that needs to be added to one of these bits of conversation, or we've forgotten a whole critical component of this conversation, chime it in. This is a conversational kind of thing. It's not just me regurgitating stuff for 2 hours. One, it'll be incomplete. Maybe there'll be some lies, and we won't get all your guys' input. So I appreciate you guys all coming out and joining us. So topics today. I'm going to start by kind of throwing out some techie stuff, some things that you want to always consider when you're shooting in wintertime, things to do with the weather, the temperature, that sort of stuff. Get that junk out of the way, and then we can start really talking more about the more important stuff, things like locations. And I bet everybody in this room has got their favorite wintertime locations for shooting in Hampton Roads here where we are. And then I wanted to also kind of talk about destinations. Not like get on a plane and fly to Fiji, because that's not winter photography anymore. But
or
just
Iceland, right?
yeah, or Iceland. Yeah, I guess that's still winter photography, Nick. But driving distance. So all of my examples are like Virginia or Maryland, somewhere within a driving distance, and obviously I want everybody to bring theirs. Other shooting ideas, particular things that I like to shoot in the wintertime that maybe aren't quite as interesting in the summer. And then last thing I threw up there is indoor alternatives, because you can't always be outside in the weather. Does that sound like a decent set of topics for tonight?
Sounds good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
Sounds great.
Okay, so we always start with welcome and introductions. I already said who I am. I'm Jim. This is my studio, and thank you very much for coming. I've been shooting for a very long time. Some of these examples on these slides are even old 35 millimeter film. I know Nick's shot film back in the day as well. Probably the most fun thing I like to shoot in the wintertime is, we don't get a whole lot of snow here, but right after we get a snow, I love to go out on the trails in First Landing State Park and get out there and hike those trails where there are no footprints in the snow. To me, that's just really cathartic. I love doing it. So I'm looking forward to hopefully at least 2 or 3 good snowfalls this winter and be able to get out there and do that. And so, Nick, introduce yourself. What's your favorite thing to shoot in the wintertime?
Yeah, I'm not much of a cold weather guy, to be honest with you.
You'd rather be in Fiji.
Exactly. That's why I went to Iceland. No, I'm actually here to get some ideas about that kind of thing. My favorite thing that I went and shot in cold weather was up at the Lion's Head Bridge, where they've got, I don't remember what it's called, but the Japanese lady, the big statue in the pond there, it was frozen over one year. It was completely frozen, and that's probably one of my favorite shots I've ever taken in cold weather. And so I've kind of, I'd like to get out and do more of that sort of thing. So I'm kind of here more to get ideas than to give them, to be perfectly honest with you.
Celine.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of it for me. But yes, I did start because you abused me about it back when film roamed the earth.
Yep.
And I'm just having a blast. Me and my buddy here went to Iceland, and we had a good time together not long ago. So,
now it's my turn. I'm Jean, and I actually love shooting out in the winter because I'm from up north, so I kind of miss the mountains and the snow and stuff like that. But down here, the first thing I do, since I live near the beach, is go out and get the snow over the sand dunes, or I kind of go down because we have the Chesapeake Bay Bridge, so getting the snow piling up around the pylons. So I like to do that. And then I have done First Landing. It's actually pretty magical when you see the red berries pop out and you've got the snow. And then I find someone in the middle of the snow last year built a little snowman out of nowhere and put little 2 eyes and put a little note that said hi in the middle of First Landing, which was really neat. And then I did actually go up to oh god, I'm forgetting the name. Nolan Trail up near Newport News,
Yep.
and that lake and all around it was really, really beautiful.
All those
with
bridges.
the snow and the
Yeah.
bridges. So those were my favorite places last year, and I'm hoping we can have a couple really, really good ones. Because I like to practice doing some of the icicles and the water and the snow, and then actually having footprints, like animal footprints, and then taking the pictures of that too. My favorite stuff.
Great. Michael.
I'm Michael, and yeah, I like shooting just about any time, but and snow pictures, yeah, they're neat. But I need a lot of snow. I grew up in Minnesota, so yeah, I'll go out and get a picture, and okay, that's good, you know. But like hiking Nolan Trail, that's a good place. First Landing. I'm out in Chesapeake, so there's the Arboretum, Oak Grove Lake Park.
Yeah, Oak Grove is really nice.
Northwest River.
Yep.
Some nice trails. Yeah.
Yeah, there you just gotta be. Depends on how much moisture.
Moisture. Oh yeah, it turns into a mud pit.
Yes.
Horrible mud pit. So you gotta
Horrible.
moist.
I mean, sink up to your knees
Yep.
almost, you know.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I like to shoot different places, and let me will go. And I mean, we just did a day over in Colonial Williamsburg. There was
Yeah.
still snow on the roofs and stuff on the north side, and then we did the nighttime. And we made 2 or 3 stops. Of course, you got the Hampton Coliseum with all its lights. We did some neat stuff over there.
Yep.
Probably seen hers, haven't seen mine because I haven't posted it yet. But what else did we do? We shot Christopher Newport over there.
Yeah.
They've got a nice bell tower.
Mhm.
We've never seen that. It's really nice. It's a challenge, so you can see the clock face and still get the bell tower lit up.
Yeah.
But you know, time of day, you know, when you do it.
Right.
But that's a neat place to shoot over there. And then of course Nolan Trail, Lions Bridge, it's all part of it. But mostly wildlife, so it's great to get out and, you know, it's that time of the year for the eagles and stuff, and you start seeing them nesting.
Yep. And now that the leaves are out, the owls are visible and stuff like
Yes.
that. Now's a good time of year to shoot owls if you're into that.
I'm
Finally,
Gary.
welcome, Gary.
One of the newer members, or plan to be a member, if there's such a term, being a member. But I love doing outdoor shooting myself. As far as wintertime, First Landing, that's a top favorite pick of mine for doing shooting. But site that I think is fairly underrated is the Naven River area. With the Bronx Center, you got the Pleasure House Point Park.
Oh yeah.
And that's I'm surprised I don't bump into more photographers when I'm out there. I'm out there, you know, 3 or 4 times a month. Didn't get out there this past winter, but that's on my list this year. I hopefully get some good shots. If that lake, I think if it's still enough and it gets cold enough, I said lake, I say that the creek can probably freeze over.
Mhm.
That with some good snow on, I think that'd be a good opportunity. I'm not sure if everybody's been up that area, but
Yeah.
I got some phenomenal sunset shots from there.
Great.
So between there and First Landing, a good spot. My future prospect for shots is the James River area. No one's mentioned that, but I'm planning to scope that area out one day, get some good backgrounds, hopefully get a pastel sunset. You know, if it's cold enough, maybe some snow, that'll work in favor.
Yep.
But one idea I have for a shot, it's something you can almost do in your backyard. People don't mention macro photography, but doing like icicles off the
Oh, yeah.
rooftop, that's something I've never done, but that's one of the things, since we're discussing cold weather photography, you know, the ice crystals, frost on the leaves, that'd be another. I've got a macro lens I'm dying to try out for that type of photography, so.
Yeah. You know what's really popular now is frozen soap bubbles, and they've got this. You get a recipe off the internet for just the right mixture of all the stuff, and then you drop your soap bubble on a frozen plate, and the crystals form up around it, and that's real popular for macro shooters and
Wow.
another cool, fun thing to do.
Interesting idea, a little abstract photography.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
Cool.
All right, well, thank you everybody for coming. Let's move on. And these are the techie things that I think about when I'm shooting in colder weather. The first one I think about is battery life. All batteries have a temperature that they work best at, and if in cold weather, your battery life is going to suffer tremendously. And while Canon, Nikon, DLSR batteries seem to do pretty well because they're already very high capacity. If you shoot mirrorless, those batteries save maybe the latest generation mirrorless cameras. Those batteries don't last all day to begin with, and so you're going to have to remember to bring extra batteries. And other things too, your flash batteries, those lithium rechargeable batteries are just, you'll burn through those in a heartbeat if you're shooting flash photography. Any loop or PowerX or any of those things, they don't last very long at all in the cold. So think about your battery life when you're shooting. The last thing you want to do is spend all the time and energy to bundle up and go find some great spot, and you get there and your batteries die after 5 minutes.
The other trick there is people switch a battery. They'll take their operating battery, put it in their coat pocket.
Warm it back up.
Your body will warm it up and keep switching batteries and maximize your battery life.
Yeah.
You can do that, and you can also get these little chemical hand warmer things like people shove in their gloves. You can put a couple of those in your pocket, keep your batteries in your pocket, and just switch them in and out. When we went to Iceland, that was one of the things that was recommended by one of our traveling buddies was, hey, get a pack of these things, and they're relatively cheap. You can get like 20 or 40 of them or whatever in a big pack, and you just take a few with you, and they stay warm for a good long time, and not super hot, but warm enough to keep your batteries a little bit more active,
Yeah, right. The next thing I thought about was condensation, and so if you take your nice warm camera, especially your lens, and you take it out in a very cold situation, you're going to condense moisture, importantly inside your lens, and that while the condensation directly doesn't necessarily harm your lens, it does create a breeding ground for mold and fungus, and that will destroy your lens. I mean, it will make it so that the lens is, it costs more to have the lens taken apart and cleaned and reassembled than it would be many times to replace the lens. So you really want to think about condensation, and especially with your lenses, if you're going to be out, going out and shooting in the cold, you might want to leave your lenses in the trunk of your car the night before, so they're not going from a hot to a cold environment, so they don't have to acclimate. Now, depending on where you live, maybe that's not a great idea, but you can, the best you can. It depends. I don't know. Yeah, some people it's not safe to leave your stuff in your car, but just think about that. When you're out there, and just try to let your lenses acclimate as slowly as possible, so they don't build up that condensation.
And the same thing when you bring them back indoors, leave them in your bag and leave your bag closed for a couple of hours and let the temperature sort of gradually increase. And the other thing, and you can get these, they're kind of renewable or rechargeable or whatever you call it, is desiccant packs. Or even I've got some of these little metal things, and I always keep 1 or 2 in my camera bag, so whatever's in there, whatever you can do to minimize moisture inside your bag is probably a good thing.
Yeah, every time I get a product with one of those little pouches, I've just got a little bucket and I throw them all in there, because you're right there.
I keep 5 or 6 of them in my case, my camera case.
And you can throw them in the oven for a little while and dry them out. Yeah, so
you can put them in the oven to rejuvenate them. I've heard put them on like a low heat, like 150, 200, on low temperature. Put them in your oven for 20.
So it's not something you have to buy over and over and over again.
It dries
out.
Last
a good while.
The vapor gets trapped inside the elements, the chemical, whatever made of, it rejuvenates the dissectant pack.
The third thing I wrote down was just a short discussion on air quality. Wintertime is great for landscape photography because the colder, denser air causes all that moisture, that haze, to rise up and stay in the clouds. It's not floating down in your shot, and so you're going to get more or less clearer air when it's colder than the same weather when it's warmer. Now you still want to have, like a breeze is going to keep the haze away far more than the temperature, but you'll notice a lot of the landscape photographers, they're always out there braving the cold because they
find the colder air holds less moisture, especially in the horizon, you get less distortion because there's less vapor.
Yeah, and you don't have heat waves coming off of concrete for cityscapes and things like that, so that's not a problem. And what was the other point about that I was going to...
Well, animals are more active, the cooler temperatures, the cooler the fall.
Yeah. So, there's something else about air quality I was going to say, but...
Well, I think with sunsets, you get more color on sunsets because of the refraction, the sun being in a different position, plus with you don't have less humidity, you get more focus, like I say, the clouds are higher, it seems like there's more volume to the clouds, you're not likely to get a hazy cloud. A hazy atmosphere, you got more of a cloud formation, I think, of colder weather.
Right, yeah.
I'm not a meteorologist, but...
And the last point I was going to make is, you know, your astrophotographers, star trails and Milky Ways and things like that, they're going to be far more vibrant in the cold weather. So that's what you see those guys out there braving the cold at 2 o'clock in the morning, and because you're getting clear skies.
We get rings around it because the ice crystals form in the cooler atmosphere. You'll get ice crystals that's what ice crystals in the upper atmosphere is what causes the rings around the moon. So
Yeah.
big plus for astrophotographers.
Yeah. And then the last bullet point I said, and Nick kind of touched on this, is, you know, stay warm. Especially if you're shooting handheld, you know, you want to stay warm. You want to make sure you'll be able to, you know, your hands aren't shaking from the cold, and you know, you're not homeostasis shakes all over the place. You know, invest in some good quality touch sensitive gloves, so you're not taking them off to use your phone, or, you know, a lot of cameras have touch screens on them now. So you don't want to be taking your gloves on and off. So get some, you know, nice conductive gloves so you can keep those on and keep yourself warm, and keep your head warm, keep your ears warm. Just staying comfortable. I mean, it could be a better experience, but, you know, forget the techie side of making sure you can still get a good, crisp, sharp shot without a lot of camera shake. But, you know, if you're comfortable out there, you're going to stay out there longer. You're probably going to get more shots.
Good pair of hiking boots.
Yeah.
When it gets below like 20 or actually below freezing, I got a pair of insulated boots then. Because if you aren't comfortable, you're not going to perform your best. You're not going to be as creative. You're not going to want to stay as long. So
Gotta stay dry,
Yeah.
especially if you're out in the snow.
Somebody was asking the other day about gloves, and like Jim said, that the things with the little, that you can still work your phone and stuff are handy, but also one thing that people don't think about, military surplus places have a lot of good cold weather gear. And among other things, they have these shooter's gloves where they have caps on the fingers and thumb that you can pop those off, and you've still got the touch then on your shutter button or your dials or whatever. And, you know, they're a little better than just straight out fingerless gloves or whatever, but there are a couple of alternatives to.
Yeah, I use fingerless a lot, but I got one pair that's got the touch sensitive, and
didn't make what you
they're
call
okay.
There's a Glommet glove where I'd like to find it. I think I've seen them online, but where it's like a glove. It covers up the fingers.
It's like a mitt.
It's like
But
a
it
mitten,
swings
but
back,
it
yeah.
flips.
Oh, yeah.
Expose your fingers.
Peels
Like,
back,
if
yeah.
you're taking some shots, you can pull back the glove part. You got your bare fingers exposed, but enough that you can use your controls and.
A pair of those, and you flip it
Yeah,
right
man,
over.
That's
when
my
my hands
purchase,
get
I
cold,
think.
my interest goes. I'm done. I mean, I can handle just about everything else, but when I get to where I'm starting to get, you know, kind of numb in the
Like
fingers,
frostbite,
oh,
as
it's
they
over
said,
for
and you're
me.
like, oh,
Yeah.
they start hurting, and you're like, oh, that's not fun.
Good. All right. Any techie stuff you guys think about, consider that we haven't talked about yet?
Some of the stuff, weather. A couple of years ago, we went up and we shot the Niagara Falls
Yeah.
in January. Yes.
It's always the best time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was the year when they were about 90% frozen over. And when we pulled in the parking lot, I was like, what is that noise? That was the mist coming off the falls and freezing and hitting the car.
Wow.
Like sleep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Only heavy sleep. And when you went out, we could only stay out maybe 15 minutes. We had to go in and get our cameras cleaned off and get stuff off them. Otherwise, you had stuff all over. It was that cold out.
Oh yeah.
So you got to keep in mind your gear when you're out.
Oh yeah.
So situations like that.
And you know, back to the condensation thing. Even if it's a dry night out, if you're doing astrophotography, bring a lens cloth, because you are going to get a little bit of condensation on your front element. So. Great. So I'm going to share my favorite local locations, and then I'll open it up and see who else wants to share theirs. I like doing the holiday light displays. We've got a bunch of them around here. Did the Oceanfront do theirs or not? I know they worked
set up,
with
Yes, it was a smaller version of it.
Yeah,
That's what I
it's
heard.
a much smaller version.
Yeah, they like some of those older lights weren't up to code. They would have us like redo a bunch of them.
They had maintenance issues. What the problem was.
Yeah,
So now it's like a tiny little mile now.
Yeah.
Price,
But anyway, you
Yeah,
got
same price, but it's a mile
Yeah.
now, so.
but you got Botanical Gardens and Newport News, and where else has big light displays?
I'm going to tell you
And
something.
actually, somebody just posted about all the houses.
Yeah,
the
The
Google map thing
Google
where the
map
guy,
thing with
yeah.
every
Oh, yeah.
houses that are
There's a thing
insane.
out in Chesapeake where a guy just goes nuts. I mean, he's got his whole, and he's got a big lot, and he's just got it loaded with lights and stuff. But if you've never been, one place that really impressed me was Lewis Ginter up in Richmond, the botanical gardens up there.
Oh,
Man,
yeah.
they got some beautiful stuff up there, the way they do the lights and the conservatory and all that. It's really, really pretty. Nice shots up there.
How's Williamsburg wintertime? I've been there for the grand illumination, but it wasn't really, I didn't bring my camera, I did, I'm sure they had more lights this time of year. I guess that'd be a good photo opportunity, am I wrong? Or,
In Colonial,
No,
I
they're
was
very
just there.
minimal.
because it's like off season for them? Or?
I was
Well,
just
they
there.
don't have a lot of big electric lights, so it's really.
Sunday night, there was,
It'd be candlelight, of course, if you want that.
some of the houses, they have candles like in the window and everything, but other than that,
They keep it basic, huh?
yeah, except for the Williamsburg Inn. That is
Yeah.
all lit up. And if you haven't been up there, I know there's been some photos posted, and Annette posted her photo
Yep.
yesterday of, they've now built a little pond or fountain area right out in front of it, so now you can get the nice reflection and everything,
Oh, yeah.
you stand back.
Nice.
They do Founders Inn up nice.
Oh, yeah.
With
That's
the
another
trees
place
and all
with
that kind of
lights, yeah.
stuff.
Mhm.
And out toward Chesapeake, out in Los Gaviotas,
Oh,
the
yeah.
neighborhood does some stuff
With the
out there.
gazebo and the clock and all that
Yeah,
stuff is very
they
nice.
do some really
Up in
nice
Cedar
stuff
Road
out
there.
there too. Yeah.
Yeah, so holiday lights are great. Of course, they're short-lived because they're all usually around till about New Year's and then they're gone. So if you're not jumping out there now, you're gonna miss those. Another place I like to shoot all winter long is the Botanical Gardens. They've got the winter garden with like honeysuckle and a bunch of winter flowering plants. They've got the sunken gardens and the sculpture gardens and the conifer gardens and a bunch of other things. So that's a nice place to go year round, and it's another great place to go right after a snow because you get a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, it's kind of expensive. I don't know if I'll be able to afford to go now that I'm a lowly photographer eating my bologna sandwiches. I like First Landing State Park. One, it's really inexpensive. We don't have a lot of water around here that'll freeze because we're all salt and brackish water feeders. But we've got the Blackwater cypress ponds in First Landing State Park, and they will freeze like you see in this picture here. That was like about a 9-shot panorama from a couple of years ago. So there's some, there are some places you can go and get frozen water. But if not, you got to go out of town, like up to Richmond. You mentioned James.
Stumpy Lake, that freezes pretty.
Yeah, but I don't find it all that.
It's not as photogenic as
Yeah.
First Landing.
Yeah, I don't find it, but there are some nice, especially if you're trying to get like a sunset. Stumpy Lake's a great place for sunsets.
Early morning, got the mist coming off.
Yeah.
Haven't gotten that shot. That's on my
Yeah.
it's on my
The
agenda.
egrets,
Mm-hmm.
Stumpy Lake's right around the corner from
I
my
didn't
house.
see.
Mhm.
I think you every time I'm out there.
I like to go to Newport News City Park. That's got a lot of nice trails, and they've got the water there, and so that sometimes that'll freeze over, and it's really nice right after a storm as well. Back Bay National Wildlife Reserve. That is, we've got all those winter waterfowl that still migrate through here, and this. So even though there's, foliage is all gone, there's still lots of wildlife to go out and shoot there year round.
And no snakes.
Because
in the summer-
fewer snakes.
Yes.
You're thinking of
Snake-a-rama in the summer.
Yeah. And I just like traveling around Pungo Creed's Blackwater area for the farms. There's nothing like a lowly farm in the middle of a winter field, and you make that great, silhouette shade, or just like a lowly oak tree in the middle of some big field is kind of nice to shoot, especially with as an element in front of the sunset or whatever. So those are places I go locally. What else?
I think those are. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Shot list
The
of-
Nolan Trail.
Yeah, we mentioned the Nolan Trail. That's a
That's
great
a good-
place to go up in
place.
Newport News there behind the Mariners Museum.
Arboretum in Chesapeake.
Oh, yeah.
Oak Grove Lake Park is a nice,
Mm-hmm.
easy walk.
If you want to do rural stuff, and I just say this because we used to ride motorcycles up there, but there's all kinds of that. If you go up 460 toward Wakefield, and there's a road 628, I just know the route number, but you can go out in there and it's all kinds of rural stuff and old silos and farm type stuff, and if you just want to get out and wander around, I used to like to find old broken down houses, you know, that kind of stuff,
Right. Good
and
texture.
do that sort of thing. There's just a ton of it as you head out that way towards Zuni and Wakefield and Ivor and all that. I mean, yeah, it's a good ride. And there's a nice, I forget the route number now, but as you turn off left and go out toward what's the name of the town?
Blacksburg?
Okay, well, not Blacksburg, but like you head out toward 460 and you go south below Richmond, there's just all kinds of rural stuff out there. So a lot of ponds, a lot of farmland.
All right, so that's the local places. Museums and art galleries. I enjoy shooting Chrysler Museum, MoCA when they can. Just my little asterisk there is, just talk to your museum or art gallery when you can, because sometimes the exhibits don't allow photography. And taking a picture of a piece of art really isn't art in itself, it's just documenting the art. But if you take like this picture with a lady, she's experiencing the art, that's something a little different and unique. And a lot of them also have sculpture gardens and things like that. So, oh, you want a water?
Yes, please. Before I die over here. I know, I'm like trying not to interrupt.
Yeah, museums, they don't want you using flashes and they don't want you dragging around a tripod, so.
Well, then one, you don't use a flash. You just gotta learn to eat your ISO and get it to the point. Where, yeah. So
I'd
most
go higher.
yeah, with that 850 you can go all crazy, right? And
Shoot
so
4,000 on a time.
so you're gonna get a little bit of grain, or a lot of modern cameras can take the ISO and you can get it out in post anyway if it's still there. Use a monopod, that'll help stabilize things, and yeah.
And if you go to the Chrysler, the glass thing there is really cool too. The little glass shop. You
Yeah.
can go watch
So
it.
the hot works.
Dude, that's man,
Yeah,
that's really cool. Yeah.
Oh, another great opportunity for shots during the wintertime are local events involving crafts, like
Oh yeah.
Williamsburg. I'm sure Jamestown, I'm not sure what their schedule is, but during the wintertime they have special programs where craftsmen are performing their art, like glass blowers we talked about, blacksmith,
Mm-hmm.
candle makers. The old fact they use anything involving open flame makes a great shot. I think bumped at ISO, not too low of a shutter speed, 125, 200. You'll get the flame
Mm-hmm.
moving a little bit, and it makes for a great photo opportunity.
Yeah.
Just don't get too hot or get too close to the flame.
Like Colonial Williamsburg, we were just there the other night, and they got their fire baskets, and they had caroling going on, so that was pretty good. Trying to light, you better jump up that ISO a little bit.
Oh,
But it's also tough to shoot though, because you got that bright fire,
Mm-hmm.
and everything else is kind of dark. So,
Yeah.
but you get some interesting shots with shooting the flames and everything. Interesting artwork.
Yeah.
Or if you get I think a good photo opportunity would be good, like, if you ever make a trip to Williamsburg, if you get have one of the colonial people,
The reenactors or whatever.
actors, I'm not sure the proper term, but have them, let's get a shot of them lighting a candle, I think would make a good photo opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and for people that don't know or struggle with what lenses to buy and that kind of thing, these are the sort of situations where buying large aperture lenses, which are the expensive ones, really make a difference. Because when you're trying to shoot carolers at night or something, and everybody's lit by a candle or something, you're not going to pull that off with a lens that has a max aperture of 5.6 or
Right.
something like that. I mean, you've really got to have you got to have the coffee can stuff to do that with.
2.8.
All right. So, my destinations, places I go, driving distance around here include Richmond. I love shooting their cityscapes in the wintertime when there's a lot less clutter, there's less people around, but there's still plenty of ducks and other things that kind of, add to the frame, especially right off the James River there at the downtown area. I like the James River itself is fascinating, especially in that big cold, because they've got all those rocks will get big chunks of ice on them, and that creates really wonderful shots for just getting kind of the icy water. And of course, a lot of the James River freezes over because it's all fresh water that far up river, and so that's really fun.
I have a suggestion for Richmond too, if you haven't been, Hollywood Cemetery.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
It's things massive, and there's some really old and interesting and ornate stuff in there, and they got a whole section for Civil War,
Mhm.
and it's it's kind of a fascinating. I mean, you could go there and walk around all day and not see half the place.
Yep.
It's that big.
Yeah.
So kind of interesting.
Maymont Park's another one. It's even in
Yeah,
the wintertime,
it
it's
is.
beautiful.
Yep.
So there. We do a trip every winter up to Charlottesville area. I love the rolling hills of all those horse farms and stuff up there, and lots of waterfalls because you're right there on the Blue Ridge, the edge of the Blue Ridge. So Crabtree Falls and all those big waterfalls in that area. We like shooting those. Down in the New River Valley, all kinds of lakes and rivers. This shot right here, that waterfall is called the Cascades. Nice big size waterfall. I actually ice hiked it one year when I was young and stupid, and hiking up the waterfall was kind of interesting, and that's kind of neat. Bethesda, Maryland's got Great Falls, which is a big rock formation right there in the river, and that looks nice. And then anywhere on the Appalachian Trail. So we've got the Appalachian Trail all along that chunk of the state, and you can find a piece of that just hasn't been walked on in months because all the through hikers are done for the season, and you can hike in a couple of miles and just find all kinds of amazing shots to take. So that's where I go in the winter to take photographs. How about you guys?
I'm thinking about going to the Outer Banks,
Oh,
less people, people trying to get the lighthouse pictures, you got less tourists, that's an opportunity to go to places like that.
mm-hmm.
I'm even thinking about places like Chigtig,
Mm-hmm.
National Wildlife Refuge.
Yeah.
They're open all year, less tourists, Astig.
Yeah.
Good for wildfowl,
Little road trip, with snow, you can get a nice shot out there at Mabry Mill.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can't miss it, it's right there.
It's on the wrong end of the parkway though. It's the farthest one from us. Yeah, I want to go do that shot too. Yeah, Blue Ridge is always good.
Yeah, Gristmills always make great shots 4 seasons out of the year. Man.
You don't have to have the great leaves. Fall's optimal, but even wintertime, you have to.
Yeah.
Great for black and white. You don't have the color leaves, but you can
Yeah.
quick conversion and
Yeah, but the
Photoshop.
snow on the roof and snow on the mill wheel and all that stuff is all just great.
And there's a lot of stuff out around Roanoke and Blacksburg and out in there that's nice stuff too. There's a mill out near there, and a lot of nice nature stuff to shoot.
I would love to try to go to Biltmore Estates in North Carolina.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
in the winter
Fantastic.
time, I mean, I see it looks like a postcard. And I'm like, all right, I want to get down there and shoot it because they do a lot with candlelight, regular lights. The snow falls down, and there's just so much around there, and even the little town that I'm like, maybe I'll drive 5 hours this winter. If we actually get a good winter, I wouldn't want to go for a little winter. It needs to actually be some decent snowfall. But
Yeah, that English garden covered in snow would just be fantastic. You could shoot it down all day, I think.
And then just to go see the actual estate itself,
yeah,
the way they decorate.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
it's amazing.
I'm sure they put a
so.
Christmas tree in every room.
A-tree?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they keep it up for a while, a little bit past New Year, so to get this still the holiday, it'd be nice if we got a snow right before the end of January.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, it's such a tourist thing for that. But, I mean, they bus you in to take the tours and everything.
Yeah.
So to actually get up there, I mean, it was difficult if you're carrying camera gear and a tripod or something, trying to do some night shots. It's tough. But it's worth it when you get there and see it, and you can get some good shots.
Do they allow you to bring a tripod inside, or you can only just do it in the gardens?
Just in the gardens and outside and everything.
Mhm.
If I remember right, we could not do it inside.
That's why it's good to have a travel tripod that's got the convert to monopod option. One less thing you have to carry in. Right. Any other destinations?
Swananoa
What's that?
is interesting. You haven't been to Swananoa?
No.
What's the north end of the Blue Ridge Parkway called? Front Royal, up around
Yeah,
Front Royal?
Front Royal.
Swananoa is like is Swananoa Palace, is that what it's called?
It's up by Afton.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and it's
After
a
Mount-
big marble, I mean, it was this really lavish,
Well,
Well,
Place, I guess.
you've been to Maymont the house there.
Yeah.
I can't remember the guy's name now. This is his summer home.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Big-
up on the mountain.
Yeah, big ornate staircase, stained glass. There are portions of it that are in disrepair. I mean, they're trying to
Raise money.
preserve it a little bit and do stuff. But at the same time, when you go upstairs in this place, there's like plaster walls where some of the plaster is gone and you've got brickwork. I mean, there's a lot of texture, a lot of different stuff to shoot inside the place. And for I think it was Travis who took a picture on the main staircase as you walk in the place and shot a model on there. And it's really cool, man. You're against this really ornate stained glass thing, and the staircase is beautiful.
Stained glass is of the guy's wife.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
okay.
did, and I believe it's out back with the fountains and stuff, but I mean, that's where, and that's at the top of a long staircase and everything. Which, that's another place you're talking about Richmond, if you want to go, this time of year especially, is the Jefferson Hotel.
Oh, right.
Yes, I mean, beautiful. No tripods, no monopods. Not even outside.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, we were across the street and they come over, you can't take a picture, it was like,
They like sell postcards.
yeah, watch me.
Right.
Let's take a short kid with steady nerves. Hey, stand here, Junior. Put my camera on your head.
Find a shelf somewhere, just
Yeah.
a little chair.
Get a little mannequin. Say it's your kid.
He's a little stiff.
All right, I got a handful of other shooting ideas. Fog. Love shooting in fog. Tony Northrup's fond of saying, have a plan, have a fog plan. So as you're just, as you're around all year round, you find something really interesting. A tree in the middle of a field or a barn or whatever it is, you're like, and if you think to yourself, oh man, this would look great in a fog, that day you wake up and there is a fog, you'll have a plan in place to go shoot it. So I've got a handful of places down in Pungo and Creeds and stuff that, they're on my fog plan. I've shot about half of them, and, the rest are on the list. And so, you get those nice foggy days, and sometimes you get fog and snow, like we got last year. We had a wonderful day of fog and snow. Happened to call up a model that was around. We went out, we shot a whole bunch of stuff. It was fantastic. So shooting in the fog is fun, but, it's fleeting. So it'll burn off in an hour and a half. You got to be able to have the stuff ready, get out there, and, already have a general idea what your camera settings are, because it's pretty fleeting, but when you get those shots, they can be quite amazing. Trees, just bare trees in the wintertime, a great foreground for sunrise and sunset shots. We're fortunate around here that we've got, the ocean for sunrise and the back bay for sunsets, if you want water elements in there. And there are some pretty good areas or some pretty good shot locations that I've scouted where you can get all those elements and combine them with the water elements and trees and some stuff. And in the
London
winter,
Point,
what's that?
London Point State Park.
Yeah, London Point, or around there, or a city park, right? It's a city park. But there's other places that aren't necessarily on parkland because they're only, city parks only open dusk to dawn.
Right.
So they'll run you off sometimes even before you get that final sunset shot. You're taking a little bit of a risk in those city
We've all
parks.
been there, like,
Yeah.
gotta leave.
Yeah. So what I typically do is I'll go to landowners if I see something like, that big oak tree in the middle of some guy's farmland, is I'll go, have a talk with them, buy some of their produce from their produce farm so you can ingratiate them a little bit, then they might let you back onto their property to be able to take and shoot that stuff. So. Supermoons, not only did we have 3 supermoons in a row. If you didn't catch the one in December, the next 2 full moons are also supermoons. January 31st is a great supermoon, and January 31st is not only a supermoon, but it is a lunar eclipse supermoon. So if you've never shot a moon before, this is the best time to do it, because if you didn't get out there to play on the 3rd, January 1st would be a great opportunity to get out there with some folks and learn to shoot the moon. And January 31st will be a fantastic opportunity to get a pretty rare lunar eclipse and supermoon all in one fell swoop. I think I'm going to set up an event down in Pungo. Remember, I kind of mentioned that for the last one, but I couldn't host anything. I had other plans.
Yeah, no, that
So
would
I think I'm
be
going to do
perfect.
something on the 1st for have dinner at Baja's, the Mexican restaurant right there.
Okay.
So you can park, shoot sunset over Back Bay. I think the moon actually rises on the 1st a few minutes before sunset is done. So that'll be a little bit of a rush. But the January 31st one, the sunset is 40 minutes before the moonrise. So that's even more perfect opportunity to get both a sunset and a moonrise.
And you're farther away from the city lights. Light pollution is less of a problem.
Yeah, down in Foggy, it's not bad. Over Back Bay, it's not really a problem when you walk across the street. There are some lights from the condos that are right there, but it's not the big sodium downtown lights.
Right.
Light pollution isn't. I've never had a problem getting moonshots down there in that part of the beach. So, who's good at shooting moon?
I have not actually shot the moon yet.
Yeah.
What do you mean by
Short
good?
of with my
Yeah.
camera, my cell phone.
Moonrise over off of the beach over here at Cape Henry. I've gotten a nice shot. It's pretty cool. You gotta have the right element of the clouds. You know, just a plain sky doesn't make a good picture, but you get the moon coming up, breaking through the clouds. You got the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Makes for a good picture.
Yep. Good. So, other shooting ideas. What do you guys take pictures of when you go out? So, is it more wildlife or scenery or just ice and snow or?
Some kids ice skating on a lake. It's a shame we don't have the ponds don't freeze the way they do
Yeah.
farther north.
Yeah, you got the skating rink at the MacArthur Mall,
Yeah,
but
that's
that's really not the same thing as
that's
an
not-
actual
that's
pond.
Nothing.
Although it is a cool thing to shoot if you can get people out there. We went one year and there were people who really knew how to skate. I mean, they were doing great, and so you could do some panning stuff where you follow them. It's kind of interesting, you know.
Yeah, well, Colonial Williamsburg's got that rink that they set up out in the street. It's not that big, and it was actually pretty crowded when we were there the other day, but there was probably 2 people that actually knew what they were doing out there on the skate, and the other 100,
Just bumping into each other, like bumper cars.
they were holding on to each other or rail going around.
If we get snowfall, dogs, some dogs, not all dogs, but shots of dogs
Yes.
playing snow, they make
Oh,
a great
yeah.
photo opportunity. Yeah?
Oh yeah, yeah. My all black lab over there. He makes a fantastic subject, and he loves to fetch, so he'll fetch snowballs all day long.
Yeah. Well, the other thing to shoot, especially if you got snow, if you got bird feeders, you can you can get some great bird shots.
Yeah, especially if you got berries or some other kind of plant that's going to attract those songbirds in wintertime. Mm-hmm. Anything else?
No, I've just usually just shot trees and leaves and abandoned buildings in
Yeah.
the snow. Might want to actually try like a model in like a nice red like shiny dress and make her freeze. But that would be really nice though, like to have like a contrasting gown with maybe one of those fur jackets or something, and try something like that. Even though I
Snow
don't,
queen type pictures.
yeah, even though I don't normally shoot models so much anymore, but I think that might be cool to try to do something like that, or find something. I think I want to find something like a Thomas Kincaid thing, you know, where I find that perfect little thing to get that like Thomas Kincaid like
Lit cabin in the woods.
yeah,
or
something
like
like that. And I'm like, well, I might find that
Horse
I
and
might-
carriage going over the bridge.
yeah, I might actually try that out near the Smoky Mountains, like right near the Appalachian, because they have like you can rent the cabins out there, and they said near Gatlinburg they actually have a lot of that to where you can look up and get that. I'm like, okay, that might have the vision for that. So I'm hoping I get to try some of that stuff this year, because I didn't really get to do much of that last year. So
They have some cool little cabins out near Gatlinburg. That's my neck of the woods.
yeah, and when it's snow, it's nice because then you can actually, because I've seen other people's pictures where if they're burning the fire in the fireplace and you're outside, you can actually see the shadows in the window, depending on where you're at. So I saw a lot of really nice pictures in the snow with the cabins, and then you can see sleds, because they'll leave their sleds out so kids can like go sledding down the hill and stuff. So I'm hoping I can actually do that this year, and there's a good snow.
Or Gatlinburg or Massanutten and Wintergreen. Go up to the ski slopes and
Yeah, now Wintergreen, trying to get some skiers. That's some good action skiers and snowboarders, people that want to practice action stuff, because that's really the only place to ski and snowboard around here. So
You ever talk about technical stuff, shooting snow generally?
Oh, just getting the exposure right is really
Anything
difficult.
that's predominantly white, you gotta bump your
White balance.
compensation up or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, you,
Most people get out and you take a picture and all of a sudden it's like gray. Why does everything look so overcast and gray? It was bright white.
mhm.
You gotta know what you're doing.
Yeah. So you either got a spot meter on just your subject and get exposed for that, or you do your evaluator or matrix metering, but you got to bump your exposure compensation to get the right exposure. Yeah, because snow should be white.
Your camera wants the world to be gray.
Yeah. Mhm. Great. And then my last slide for the night is really just kind of indoor alternatives. You know, I'll go out in the cold and shoot, and I'll go out in the rain and shoot, but I'm not going to go out in the cold rain. I grew up in the Oregon coast where it was always cold and rainy, and so I don't do that anymore. So every once in a while, you know, the weather's just not conducive for going outside in the cold and shooting. And so
For equipment.
it's that not
Rain.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, have a little pop-up studio for $100, Cowboy Studio, little pop-up kit, you know, start practicing your stuff. And so you don't need a lot of really expensive gear, and, you know, a lot of people in their homes don't have a dedicated place for it, but those little pop-up backdrops and a couple of hot lights or LED lights, or even some you know, a couple of 3 speed lights, plenty to start a studio. Take pictures of your family and friends, if nothing else, and you might catch a bug and start doing other things, get models in or whatever. So that's a fun thing to do when you're not out and about. Product and still life photography. I do a lot of that when the weather's cold. In fact, you guys were in the back. I was setting up I'm doing some product photography for tomorrow. So, you know, that's could be quite fun. And it can just be objects around your house. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. You know, take pictures of your watches, or take pictures of here's my cup of coffee. That was actually that was neither hot nor coffee. That was something I came up with because I needed something that sort of looked right, and I added the steam afterward.
You can learn a lot about lighting, shooting static things like that.
Oh yeah.
And if you are interested in kind of high-level product photography stuff, there's a guy on YouTube, Carl Taylor, that does a lot of that kind of thing, and he's really very precise about lighting stuff and kind of shows you how he builds something. It's really kind of interesting. It gets fairly technical. I mean, if you really want to do like magazine ad type photography of liquor bottles or what, I mean, shooting glass is just terrible. I mean, for lighting and stuff, there's a lot that goes into that is not obvious when you just look at the picture.
You know, fashion's another thing. Again, if you get your old pop-up studio going, there's plenty of opportunity to get, you know, all these Facebook pages for models and fashion and hair and makeup artists and stuff. You know, they're all want to collaborate. Just kind of talk to people, and you'd be surprised what sort of you know, collaborative, very creative things you can come up with, getting a couple people together and, you know, shooting makeup or shooting some, you know, some wardrobe that some fashion designer is making, and just having a little fun with it. It's not real hard. You can get flowers year round, so if you want to just set up something small, you just go down to the grocery store, get a little bundle of flowers, take those out. You can shoot them like this, or you can shoot them as macro shots.
One thing that's very useful for I don't mean to break your
No.
thing. One thing that's really useful for flower photography, and something that I think everybody should have in their kit, is one of these 5-in-1 reflectors. Because if you look at that picture, it's got a black background behind it. And so many times people go out and take shots of flowers, and there's so much distraction or stuff going on behind it that it sort of takes away from the shot. If you just get one of those 5-in-1s and use the black side, you can isolate stuff and make it pop.
Yeah, that's just a piece of foam core there. So,
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, people just don't think about doing that. Even in you're out in the summer shooting stuff, you can use the reflective side and highlight what you're trying to shoot. I mean, the 5-in-1 reflector for $25-30 is probably the most bang for the buck you
big round
get.
one that sits
Yeah.
off the different
Yeah.
sides?
Got a diffuser, got a white side, a black side, a silver side, and a gold side. That's why they call it 5-in-1, and man, it's just the handiest thing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mentioned macro. Well, macro is really a fun thing, especially you start getting into focus stacking and so other things. Have you played with the autofocus stacking feature in the 850 yet?
I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of neat that it'll actually, instead of manually adjusting your focus and you know, stepping the thing back, you just tell it what you want, and it'll just take the whole series for you. So, you know, I think that's going to be kind of, and the nice thing about that is it's more than just macro photography, if you're taking a landscape, you can actually stack depths of field and get a lot more out of your shot. That,
Do
you know,
it manually.
especially like, yeah, if you need you gotta have a big aperture for whatever reason, it's a sunset shot, so, but, you know, so you can stack those things up and you can get a
Right.
lot more out of it than you could otherwise in stepping out, so, again, that's all fun stuff.
If you don't have 850 money, I saw a little thing today called Arsenal, which is one of these little things that you mount on your hot shoe, and it does, among
Remote
other things,
control.
it does focus stacking.
Oh, okay.
So it's and it works off an app on your phone or whatever. It looked pretty intriguing. I didn't pop for the $175 to buy one, but it did look very interesting for the capability it had.
Well, what I use is this little cheap Chinese rail, basically, that you put on your thing, and it's got a little dial, and it's got a little graduation. So I can just, it's just a focus rail, and I just dial it back and forth, and just in small increments, and so I build my stack out.
Right.
That way.
As you move the camera closer and farther away, do you not affect magnification to some extent?
You do, but when you take that into account when you go to the far end and you make sure you got everything in frame, then you pull back and you're going to get obviously a lot more that's just going to get all cropped off. But when you focus stack it, then you just align it in Photoshop.
So you do the big one first, and then you back away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I
Yeah.
got you.
And that way you're going to get even after all that stuff's cropped away and after it's all aligned, it's all going to work.
And for people that don't want to spend money on a dedicated macro lens, because they can be a little bit pricey, a set of tubes. You can get a set of extension tubes and take just a regular lens and do well with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just get the ones with the lugs inside it so that you can
Or a
actually
pair of bellows.
Yeah.
I've seen the old Nikon bellows
Yeah.
they made back in the day.
Mhm.
You lose your autofocus, but
Well,
manual focus
on
mostly.
DSLRs, you lose your aperture. That's the real issue. Manual focusing doesn't bother me in the least.
Right.
But losing the ability to stop down the aperture and do what you got to do.
Right. Yeah,
Because there are tricks where you can dial in an aperture and then disconnect the lens, so it.
You gotta shoot manual
Yeah,
mode.
but I don't like the idea of doing that kind of
shoot
stuff.
manual
So.
mode most of the time.
Yeah, I've got an old D-class lens that I use on the focus tube, so I don't have to worry about all that stuff.
Yeah.
So. Mhm. Oh yeah, so watch some videos, right? If you're not out shooting, and that's a great time of year to kind of curl up and watch a little YouTube, and find your favorite YouTubers or buy some of these packages online, and and kind of hone your craft that way. So those are the indoor things I do in the wintertime when I can't get out and shoot. What else? Anything?
I was going to mention, and I kind of missed the opportunity earlier, but when the weather's bad and you're out in the snow or whatever, and you're a little fearful for your gear because after all you got pretty expensive stuff, I bought a little weatherproof Nikon. It's actually makes pretty good pictures. I mean, a little all-weather camera that I can just keep in my pocket. So if I jump out and it is snowing or something else is going on that I would not be comfortable taking my good gear, I can always snap a few pictures of this thing, and it actually does pretty well.
So waterproof, it's submersible, like if the
Well, I don't know that I would throw it in the lake, but as
as
far as going
Just
out in
once.
the rain or getting a little snow on or something, I don't have any concern about that. In fact, when we went to Iceland, I took it because you're out, just like you said, Niagara Falls and that kind of environment, or the waterfalls that we were near. There were places we went where you were just constantly getting heavy mist on you, and you could hardly take a shot without drying your lens and trying to do real quick, before your camera would get loaded up again. So in those situations, this kind of thing is really compact and easy to use, and I'm not as fearful about it. I mean, it's not a super cheap thing. I probably paid $250 or $300 for the thing, but I wouldn't cry if something happened to that like I would, over $2,000 worth of camera body. So,
Yeah, your newer point and shoots, a lot of those are like 12, 15, 16 megapixel.
And this, this thing has different aspect ratios, and it'll shoot panos. I mean, it'll do a whole bunch of stuff. It's not got the sensor size and all the stuff that a full-size DSLR is, but if you're out running around, there's an old, on Ware Neck Road, there's an old blue barn that's kind of broken down. I shot it in the snow one year, and it was snowing that day, and I didn't have my camera with me, but I keep this little point shoot with me almost all the time. I jumped out, I took a picture. It's a great picture. It's one of my favorite pictures of wintertime stuff. So, any camera's better than no camera.
Were they cool pics or?
Yeah, little AW100 Nikon.
Yeah, I've got waterproof Pentax that I take with me on every trip, just in case there's an opportunity
Just in
to
case.
shoot underwater or, you know, in bad weather, whatever.
Alright.
Works great, 60 megapixel GPS.
And when we were in Iceland, we bought a couple of these camera cover things where you can slip your hands in it.
Rain
But
station.
that's, yeah, but it's clunky at best, you know, it's just not, it wasn't a great solution. It did keep my gear dry, but it was also really super cumbersome to use, so.
You know what I use it is, it's cheap and not cumbersome at all. Is,
Baggy.
no, I just, hotel shower caps.
Oh, yeah.
So every time they have a little shower cap and the little cardboard tube, I grab those things, man. I've got a huge stack of them. I've got 3 or 4 in every camera bag, and they're clear. If you tear it, you just throw it away, grab another one, and they're more or less free. So it worked for me.
And you just cover it and then.
Yeah, it wraps around
The
the
elastic.
elastic around the lens, and so the whole body's covered, and you know, works great.
Of course, you can't stay at any hotels because they keep losing all their shower caps.
Yeah,
Let's get out of our shower caps.
Yeah.
Can I make one of those shower caps, please?
Yeah, not allowed back at those Holiday Inn Expresses. I feel stupid now.
Get a bill of mail for like $20.
And I've got a great collection of towels.
Yeah, and that one robe. All right, that's all I had, guys. What do you think? I think I had just a little
Cover everything.
No, you forgot plan for the spring. Just kidding.
Oh yeah. Plan for the season, right? Spend the time and kind of think about stuff. Where are you gonna go when the weather starts to turn warm?
Football games. That's why I was my new camera, higher ISO. I'm trying to get some football game shots.
Yeah.
A little night photography.
Good. All right. Well, that's it for the night, guys. I appreciate everybody coming. I appreciate all this great comments and input. Is all I like when these conversations are that there's not just some one way thing, and everybody brought some great ideas and some great suggestions. Like always, I'll do a quick edit on this thing, throw it up on YouTube for the folks who couldn't be here, and you guys can see yourself on them nets.
Awesome.
What was that?
That was not me.
That was
Somebody
mine.
got text.
Somebody
Yeah.
texted me. Sorry.
That's not-